Blessings and thank you again. This class has been great. I've learned so much. Anyway, we're going to talk about communication. So, communication is just sending and receiving messages via symbols that have meanings attached to them. So, our book brings a series of questions to think about this, and it would be the who, saying what, in what way, to whom, and with what result. So, let's say that the who would be your mom, and she's claiming that the kitchen is dirty and needs cleaning. And so, in what way does she communicate that? Maybe she leaves a written note on your video game system telling you to that everything is messy, and she also leaves a bunch of dirty dishes in your bedroom just to get the message across. Uh, and so she's clearly speaking to you, so you're the receiver of the message. And what's the result? The result is that the kitchen finally gets clean and that you finally receive the message. So, teams, networks, relationships, collaboration, all of these things rely on communication. The process of the four functions of planning and leading and controlling and communicating and organizing, it all takes it takes efficient and clear communication uh, to make that happen. Not just efficient, but really clear, concise communicating, and with the right people. And sometimes communication can be unclear, or it cannot be fully received or understood. And then sometimes people can communicate just crystal clear, and communication is exactly how it's needed to be. So as people communicate interpersonally, there's effective communication and efficient communication. But effective communication is fully understood. It's done the right way as the receiver receives the message properly. Whereas efficient communication is just kind of the bare bones idea of what you need to get across. So efficiency can sometimes mean almost lazy communication, or almost just getting just reaching the bare minimum of what needs to be said. You also have persuasive communication that really sells the idea and convinces somebody that the idea is correct and they want to support you. And there's credible communication where people respect what you're saying for some reason, maybe because you're a respected person in the community, or they know that you really have a know-how of what you're talking about. And then there's, maybe they respect you and they trust you. So these are the different things to think about in communication. So husbands and wives should clearly take note of these principles. So one of the key things that disrupts communication is known as noise. And it might sound like it's just a noise that's disrupting your communication, but it could be anything that's really not allowing the message to fully get across. So there's many different kinds of noises. So some of the types that we could look at right now is physical noise. So that could be a loud distraction, a truck going by, or a fire truck, or a police, or a subway, or all those different things that can disrupt, a TV blaring in the background, or things like that. You can have semantic noise. That's where you state something really maybe awkwardly, or something that could be taken in multiple ways, and so people don't really fully comprehend what you're trying to get across because it could mean multiple things. You have physiological or psychological noise. So somebody has maybe a bad headache and they're trying to listen to you, but they just can't, or they're thinking about something else, or they can't really focus on what you're saying. Maybe they have ADHD, or they're daydreaming, or they have schizophrenia, or something like that. You have cultural noise, which when you don't know the cultural norms of another culture and you're trying to communicate with somebody, maybe some cultures you're not really supposed to look people in the eye, and so maybe you're looking at them in the eye and they're thinking, why are they looking at me in the eye? They're not supposed to do that, or vice versa. Maybe you're supposed to look people in the eye in that culture and you don't. You're looking down, so you can really lose that connection and ability to be received properly. Or maybe you shake somebody's hand with the left hand, which is not something you do in some cultures, or so then for the rest of the time they don't really want to listen to you because you're seen as kind of rude or ignorant. You have organizational noise, so maybe your company is just so disjointed, disorganized, or maybe it's too complex, and so there's a breakdown in the communication that way. So, two quick examples personally is one, living in New York City. It's one of the loudest cities you could ever be in. So, when you're walking on the street, there's just noise everywhere. So, frequently when I get a phone call from my parents or my brother out in Texas, and I'm trying to have a conversation with them, and just all this noise, there's just fire trucks blaring, and police cars going by, and people screaming and yelling, and people talking, and bars and subways and everything. So there's all this noise, and so when I'm talking to my brother, I usually only get about 30 seconds of uninterrupted conversation until some big disruption happens, and I gotta wait 2 minutes for a subway train to go by or a fire truck. So that would be one kind of physical noise. Second example would be I had a friend that had schizophrenia. He would get voices in his head all the time, and he would have to talk to those voices, and he knew they weren't real, but he said if he didn't answer those voices, that they would just continue to disrupt him and talk to him too much, and it made so he had to respond to them no matter what. So when I'd be talking to him, then he would be talking about something else, and I'd say, well, are you talking to me? And he'd say, no, I'm talking to the voices in my head, and if I don't respond to them, then they're gonna just keep bothering me. So therefore, he would have to finish responding to those voices in his head, and then we could resume our conversation. So that would be like a physiological or psychological noise that made it difficult to have conversations with him, because I was competing with these other voices in his head, and so it made it difficult at times. It was interesting, but it made it difficult. So those would be two quick examples. So God bless, and thank you so much, and have a great rest of the year.